Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob Payton here, and we're talking about The Scourge Between the Stars by Ness Brown, and I absolutely love the cover on this book. It shows someone in like a spaceship holding a big gun while a creature kind of moves behind them. And on the back it says, as acting captain of the starship Calypso, Jacqueline Albright is responsible for keeping the last of humanity alive as they limp back to Earth from their forebears' failed colony on a distant planet. Faced with constant threats of starvation and destruction in the treacherous minefield of interstellar space, Jacqueline's crew has reached their breaking point. As unrest begins to spread throughout the ship's wards, a new threat emerges, picking off crew members in grim, bloody fashion. Jacqueline and her team must hunt down the ship's unknown intruder if they have any hope of making it back to their solar system alive. This was released by Tor Nightfire. It is a novella, and it does look like they are kind of open to putting out novellas, which I really enjoy as someone that likes novellas. You know, this comes out to like, literally 159 pages. It's not a super long book. Couple hours maybe. I don't know how fast of a reader everybody is. I read pretty fast. And it's one of the reasons why I love novellas, because when I do have time to read, which is something I love, it is a hobby of mine, I can read multiple novellas in a day, and I enjoy that a lot. It seems to be something that used to be more popular. As someone that reads pulp fiction and stuff like that, you see a lot of these shorter novellas, and then I guess there was a turn where people started to put out longer and longer books. I love this book. There were some things I didn't love about it, but overall I love science fiction horror. I've talked about it on the channel before. I love everything that is scary in space is the same reason why I think the ocean is scary, right? You don't have to convince me that it's scary. I go in believing that something terrifying can happen there. It's space. It is a void of limitless possibilities, and also if you open a window, you die, right? So the stakes are high. You can starve to death and you can die. It's like being on a boat now, essentially, right? Unless you have a helicopter on that boat. If something goes bad with that boat, you're having a very bad day. Now, there are people, obviously, that survive boat accidents and hold on to doors and stuff, like in the Titanic, but I can't think of anything more terrifying than drifting in the ocean. As someone that has like thalassophobia, I don't like to be in water past my knees, and that was a tangent, and I do apologize for it. So let's get back to this book. This was Alien. Essentially, this is, if you've seen the movie Alien or any of the Alien movies or Alien versus Predator, that is what this book is. Obviously they're given a different name, they reproduce differently, but they do eat people. You know, we're kind of being shown an alien in the background, so we know that something alien-esque is happening. The base layout we're given, we know there was a war. We know that a lot of humanity is traveling in these massive ark-like ships. We know there are multiple ships that are all traveling together, and we know that some weird stuff has been going on before Jacqueline has had to take command, because her father has essentially locked himself in the room. We know that the supplies are low. We know that the expedition back to Earth has taken longer than they expected, and so, you know, tensions are very, very high. You basically have a bunch of people on a emotional pressure cooker under a lot of stress that is inescapable. All in the same place. Not exactly the conditions I would want to be captain of a spaceship in. There is also, I forget what they called, Watson, who is an android. We are told very early on that Jacqueline is not overly fond of androids. But it does become very clear that as more weird stuff starts to happen, Watson knows a little more than they are letting on. Basically, everything starts off with weird sounds inside the ship and then spirals from there. I am not going to tell you what the name of these creatures are because there is a lot of backstory there. There's a lot of personal backstory with the captain. Like I said, this isn't really a long book, so I don't want to give away, you know, it's not a book full of red herrings or small spoilers, right? Every spoiler is big because it's not very long. And it's a very action-packed and tightly condensed story, right? It all takes place on one ship. You're basically given the full cast of characters very early on, at least everyone that's important. Obviously, we know that there are more people on this ship, possibly thousands of people within, and who knows how many are on the other ships. It does start off with the other ships kind of losing contact and them getting some weird messages about don't open the doors. We don't know what that means. But as someone that loves the Alien movies, I caught on very quickly, and if you're watching this channel, you've probably also seen Alien and like the Aliens films, or at least are familiar enough with them that you can see where this book is going right from the first couple chapters. And I will say that it does it very well. It ratchets it up, the tension, right in the beginning, and then once these sinister alien beings that eat people are kind of shown, the explanation for how they got on the ship is kind of interesting, and then also the fact that how they were able to hide is interesting. Once again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but it does feel very much almost like Alien Isolation, if you're familiar with that game, where, you know, it's kind of like hide and seek with this creature that is trying to hunt you in a place where you can't really escape from because you need everything on that ship to live. I also thought it was kind of interesting. They don't really go into much detail with the species they were at war with, but we do get a sense from the fact that they are essentially almost like refugees returning to Earth who have survived this war, even though maybe most of them weren't soldiers, some were, who knows. We aren't really given a lot of that information. That whatever society they attacked or, you know, were in this conflict with was maybe more technologically advanced, and that is something I would love to see you know, gone into with more detail. Once again, though, this is a newer book. I would love to see more of these. Alien has been putting out a lot of content lately. If you read any of the Alien tie-in novels, you know that Titan Books is pumping them out with some stellar horror authors. I think Tim Wagoner's put out a book. I'm pretty sure Mary San Giovanni's book, Enemy of My Enemy, is out. I think Cynthia Playo, whose name I may have just butchered, and I do apologize, has one. So yeah, I've been trying to pick them up too because I do love science fiction horror. So it would be really interesting to see, you know, Ness Brown put out more of these books that are familiar but very different in the aspect that A, these things can die, B, there is like ways to fight them. While they are kind of apex killing machines, it isn't as nihilistic and bleak as I would say the Alien series is, which I appreciate, because the whole thing with the aliens is like you can never stop them in Aliens, essentially. Maybe you can team up with predators, but even predators have their whole society that doesn't make sense, and for some reason these are the only two species in existence. Where Ness Brown's world building, we know there's another technologically advanced species out there. We don't know their motives, but it would be kind of interesting just based off the world we are given to kind of see what more can come out of this. I'm hoping this is the beginning of something and not just a standalone, but I could be wrong. And even as a standalone, I think it really holds up. If you're looking for a quicker, short science fiction horror read, and you're a fan of Aliens or Alien, you should pick this book up. Like I said, it hits all the right tropes. It does a lot of world building for what is really not a very long book, and it makes you care about the characters you're supposed to care about and kind of hate the ones you're supposed to hate. And even while there are some characters that are pretty much like, I don't like these people, it is interesting watching them all interact because once again, they do all rely on each other. They have to rely on each other to survive. So yeah, I enjoyed this book. I'm glad I picked it up. It was a short read, but like I said, as a fan of sci-fi horror and as a fan of aliens, I did enjoy this. If you've read this book and you liked it, you didn't like it, let me know in the comments below. If you know of any other similar sci-fi horror books that kind of give like an Aliens or a Starship Troopers the movie vibe, not the book. If you've read the Starship Troopers book, you know that's like a completely different thing. The Starship Troopers movies definitely nailed the propaganda and you know, war is bad elements and kind of like the brutality of it, but the actual like stuff with the bugs that happen in the first Starship Troopers movies is way different than a lot of the stuff that happens in the book. But anyway, let me know in the comments. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.